that's different from what they privately say. They're not going to make a decision about Deshaun Watson until they have to. I think that's the truth. And this notion that they don't have enough information, that tells me that when it's time to make a decision, if and when he's traded between now and next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, they're not going to put him on the commissioner exempt list, at least not yet. And they'll buy some time to make a decision as they await more information. So if they get criticized, how can you let this guy play when he's got 22 civil complaints alleging sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions and 10 criminal complaints making the same accusations? How can you let him play? We don't have enough information. That will be the cover if they don't put him on paid leave. And, the ultimate piece of information that would get him on paid leave is a felony indictment, if that ever happens, for one or more criminal charges. So I read between the lines of that, Chris. I think if he gets traded, he's playing. I think if he gets traded, he's playing. Based on what Roger Goodell said, I think if he gets traded, he's playing.
Yeah, I mean that'll be interesting.
Until he gets indicted on felony charges, if that happens, that's when it would change. But until then, I think he's good to go. The lawsuits, unless they're settled,
right? The
criminal complaints that have yet to result in formal charges, that's not going to be enough to keep him off the field.
I mean, listen, I don't know. The NFL, they through the years, I feel like has been a little all over on these type of subjects where they do jump in. Sometimes they don't. It seems as of late they've kind of, tried to take the standoff approach of like, we're going to wait till it all gets settled and then make our decision here. Okay. But yeah, listen, my first thing is just like, wow, if he gets traded with everything that's going on with the Washington football team and now this, and he's playing, it's not going to be a good look for the NFL. It's not. I mean, it's going to turn people off, and the fact that it's just like, whoa, okay, yeah, workplace issues here with Daniel Snyder and the Washington football team. A lot of workplace issues, mistreating people, mistreating women. Okay, now we're going to let quarterback play, and whoa, there's a lot of accusations of mistreating women there as well. And again, I'm not trying to say guilty, not guilty, anything like that. But, I mean, that to me is just going to open up another can of worms on the whole Washington football thing. That to me is what it's going to do. It's going to now, ignite another crowd to join the fight with the Washington football team conversation that we just had in segment 1. And I think put more of a spotlight on the whole situation. I don't know. Am I crazy to think that? That was the first thing I kind of thought of when I saw the comments last night.
I think that's why he is using this notion that they don't have enough information. We're staying out of it. We're letting the legal process go forward. We don't have enough information. So don't blame us because we're not at a point where we can feel confident reaching any conclusions. The difference is they haven't had Beth Wilkinson do a full investigation and a complete investigation and talk to anyone and everyone who may have some sort of a complaint about Deshaun Watson's behavior. God forbid only one of them ask for full secrecy, then we'll never get any transparency whatsoever. I'm trying to show how ridiculous the position is when it comes to protecting an owner, because when it involves a player's conduct, we're hearing everything. We're going to know everything if they are going to suspend a player that justifies that decision to impose discipline. But I think when he takes the position that we don't have enough information, that tells me he's playing. And look, Chris, the other side of the coin is this. How do you justify taking a guy off the field when he has yet to be charged with a single crime?
I get it. I know.
Especially if he would settle the cases, and those cases could be settled at any time.
Right.
They almost were settled several months ago. So I think they'll make their decision with whatever information they have available to them when it's time to make a decision. What Goodell said yesterday to me is a strong hint that Watson's going to be allowed to play, and I think the thing that changes it is some sort of a felony indictment.
Let me ask you one more question. Just because it's such a weird situation and pretty unprecedented right now, because it's like, yeah, he's not playing because he doesn't want to play for that team. And okay, like there's that whole issue to go along with the civil suits and everything. But okay, let's just say some information at some point we find out, and some of these things Deshaun Watson did do or whatever, and it verifies that there needs to be a suspension made on Deshaun Watson. All right, this is the question I got for you: is Is Deshaun Watson and his side going to be able to say, like, basically we've already served 7 games. If you want to suspend us 10 games next year, like, how's that going to work? No. I mean, no, he's not. No. Okay. All right.
Well, he's gotten paid.
So I guess that does. Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, I know.
Remember in 2019,
right.
Antonio Brown, he was cut by the Patriots.
Yeah.
He was facing a lawsuit and other accusations. Right. And the league wouldn't say, if you sign him, hey, we're putting him on paid leave.
Yeah.
So everyone shied away from him. So he served a de facto unpaid suspension of like 14 games in 2019, and then they suspended him 8 games in 2020. The difference here is Watson's getting paid now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's 2 tracks to keep in mind. I've seen some people who I think should know better conflate the two. You've got the question of whether or not he'll be placed on paid leave, commissioner exempt list, pending the resolution of everything. That's one track.
Right.
And that's separate from whatever the commissioner may do by way of an unpaid suspension later. And even if this all goes away, let's say he settles the cases. Let's say he fights the cases and wins them. That'll take a couple of years, the way the legal system's currently moving, especially while the pandemic is still slowing down the dispensation of justice. Let's say he's not ever charged with a crime, never ends up facing criminal jeopardy. Even then, you go back to the Ben Roethlisberger situation from 2010. In 2009, he was sued for rape in Nevada. Early 2010, he had the situation down in Milledgeville, Georgia, where it looked like he was going to be charged, and all of a sudden it went away, and I still believe that a settlement of any potential civil claims was made, and that took the steam out of the criminal investigation. Don't know that to be a fact, but I believe it based on my experience. Even then, there was a 6-game suspension imposed, reduced to 4, and if you look at the letter that was sent by the commissioner to Ben Roethlisberger at the time, some of the same clauses, phrases, messages that applied to Ben in 2010 would apply to Deshaun Watson now, because the number of massage sessions that he had, the way that he was finding the massage therapist, and the admission from his lawyer that some of these sessions did become consensual sexual encounters. That in and of itself, I think, the sheer volume and what it led to would be enough to justify, based upon what happened with Ben Roethlisberger, an unpaid suspension once all this ends. So if you trade for Deshaun Watson, you're taking the short-term risk of paid leave, and you're taking a very real risk that he's not going to be available for the first. And the general, you've heard this, the general thought is 6 games.
Yeah.
That he's not going to be available for the first 6 games next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's a lot of hitches in the giddy up here as far as trying to figure out the right compensation to trade for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I mean, it's just the unknown. But, okay, that's good. You cleared it up for me. I just was wondering how that would work out because, again, I know you're right. It's he's being paid. That's the bottom line right now, and that's where it's a whole lot different than what we've seen in the past.
Yep. And we'll see. 6 days left before the trade window closes. And I think the Texans have held firm on what they want because they view this as not a 2-year arrangement. Right. They view this as a team acquiring a franchise quarterback who, if they continue to pay him and extend him or use franchise tags or whatever, is going to be with that team indefinitely. So don't get caught up in what is or isn't available now. Plenty of teams draft young quarterbacks with the idea that they're not going to have a payoff for a couple of years. With Watson, the payoff is 2023, maybe free and clear and complete in 2023.
Yeah, that's
and I
tough.
think that's why the Texans want what they want.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.